Hello and welcome to the 17th episode, I believe, of the Sports Hut podcast. And one of the major changes you'll notice from the last episode is that James has ventured out of the house and got himself a haircut, which confirms that his forehead actually makes Scott Brown's ego look tiny. Now we're on our football. We're coming to the close of the football season, and we're looking at kind of a roundup of the football season so far. And Martin, your team's done not too bad this season. Both your teams have done not too bad. Shahan and Gav, your team one of your teams got to the final of the FA Cup. Gav, your team lifted the Scottish Championship, and of course we all know that my team had an unbeatable season, lifting the trophy yesterday. James, do remind us how your two teams have done this season?
Meh.
Yep. Okay. Brilliant. So, with that in mind, in our football roundup on the forefront of our minds, as I mentioned earlier, yesterday Rangers lifted the Scottish Premiership trophy after an unbeatable season, and Hamilton were sadly relegated after what has been an amazing season. Isn't that right, Martin? We know you're the biggest fan.
Oh, they're dog shit with a pissy plastic pitch.
So, what's your guys' thoughts on the Scottish football season? To give it a roundup, we're now at the end of it.
They didn't have
a
season. They lost 2 cup games.
Aye, against the Saints. Yeah. How does it feel being a Rangers fan losing to Saints twice?
But we won. But we won the league title.
Yeah, you won the league title. Yes. Congratulations.
Best team in the league
season.
So far, that was our success this season. That was our aim, was to win the league, get some silverware. Job done. Stevie G's done a fantastic job. The other side of the city's crying.
Stevie G's done a good job. He's done the job he came in to do. Probably took him longer than he thought. Winning his first ever league title ever in his career ever. Didn't slip this time.
Ever.
But then you're talking about. But you've also got to talk about last night. Summer night, City of Glasgow. Chaos ensues because of the party that's already happened. Fans letting down the team. Poor representation. All the fans gathering outside. All the fans who saved the club inside, ironically. You know, it's one of these things that the chaos happened. It needs to be spoken about. It needs to be broadcast. And part of this roundup is to kind of deal with ongoing issues. Bruce, as a fan, what was your take on it?
So, while I don't condone the behaviour that everyone witnessed yesterday and last night, I can understand the emotions behind it. It's a very emotional time.
Rubbish.
Do you know?
Rubbish. It was an anti-Catholic sing-song.
Watching getting rubbed in our faces from the other side of the city. It's an emotional time, and everyone has the right to be happy about it. However, that has to be done in an appropriate manner. And as I said earlier on, there was umpteen people that I know having sensible parties in their gardens, celebrating it in the manner in which it should have been done. The behaviour last night was totally unacceptable. And, there is still a pandemic on the go. We have vaccines and all the rest of it. However, there's still a pandemic on the go. And last night was breaching COVID protocol, drastically. It was so selfish and so bang out of order.
I don't even think breaking COVID protocol was the worst thing about it. They were singing bigotry in George Square. It's with thousands of people joining in.
Exactly.
Singing No Pope of Rome, follow, up to your knees in Fenian blood and so on. Totally unacceptable, putting shame to the club. And you mentioned Celtic rubbing it in your faces. Celtic had parades through the city, permitted by Glasgow City Council, and we didn't end up fighting each other. You
totally.
Why
you will find you.
It's the point of fans being allowed in the stadium, which obviously that wasn't the case, but fans coming together, singing songs. Most football fans are like, thank you for the music after all the season of empty stadiums. But to come together for a celebration and actually sing about Catholicism and killing Catholics. Why is that even in their mindset? Celebrate winning the title, celebrate your first trophy in 10 years. Some people might say your first major piece of silverware as a club. This is just absolutely mental. I don't understand the behaviour. Why are Rangers fans attracted to this? Well, thousands of Rangers fans attracted to
Well,
it.
I think you'll find that you need to watch what argument you're taking on that, because I think you'll find it stands everywhere. It's not just the Rangers fans. So it stands on both sides of the city. It stands all over the country. It's not just the Rangers fans like you're trying to paint out. And totally last night was bang out of order. But no, you have said that why are Rangers drawn to sectarian behaviour? It happens everywhere. It happens on your side of the city. It happens everywhere, and it's not acceptable. But it is not just the Rangers fans.
Do you want me to tell you the difference between the two clubs? This week, Celtic fans were permitted inside the stadium to leave a tribute to Scott Brown. Some fans from the Green Brigade hijacked it to make a political statement. Celtic took down those banners before the game, saying politics has got nothing to do with the club. It annoyed some of the fans, but they took it down because that was the club's message. Rangers players were greeting the fans, shaking hands with them, putting their arms around them. There's a pandemic going on. You don't know if those fans have COVID, and now those players were mixing with players from other teams. They were actually embracing the fans, breaking COVID protocol. It's just hypocrisy.
If you just take away like the kind of, sorry, on you go, Gavin.
I think what Bruce says about being all over the place is a good point. I mean, most clubs we've seen, there's been something happening this season where clubs have broken the rules or the fans have done something stupid. But the biggest thing about this is not Rangers' first time. This is the second, third time that this has happened, especially if you include the Rangers fans gathering outside stadiums when they've been playing. So I think it's more a case of the repetition in the offences is now where it's got to it's getting a bit too much, especially the level that it was last night. As James said, the singing, ironically saying about the up to your knees in the blood, whereas you've got ambulance members working all night long coming out and saying there was not a step in George Square you could stand on without standing on broken glass or blood due to all the infighting.
If you just keep all the kind of sectarianism out of it, the city was trashed. It was trashed. Like you'd see videos of it this morning. It was horrid. Like imagine if say it was a normal situation, right? Imagine you've got tourists coming to one of the biggest cities in Glasgow, or the biggest city in Glasgow, and they see it in that state. How horrifying is that? Like that's not the impression that we want to make people, is it really? And I imagine people have already seen it in the news as well. So is that the type of impression we're trying to make, that this is what Scotland's about?
Really? What I would also like to highlight though is the sensible fans that stayed at home. Do you know, like they are the fans that I personally find myself, do you know, thinking as being synonymous with. As a Rangers fan, I do not think of myself as being in, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but I don't think of myself like alongside the scenes we saw last night, because I would argue that, like the Green Brigade, some of those aren't in it for the football. And every club has these people in the support. You know, they're not there for football. They're there for some of the other unsavouriness that goes alongside it. But there were a large number of football fans who go and support the club and love supporting the club, who had sensible celebrations at home with nearest and dearest, celebrating in the manner in which it should have been done.
I agree with that, but that's the second British city that fans associated with your club have wrecked this since the millennium. Manchester 2008, after the UEFA Cup final.
There does seem to be a common denominator with this as well. I mean, it is every time it's a massive issue. Hibs and Rangers in the cup final as well. I'll obviously go hold up your hand to the things that went wrong. There was Hibs fans that went over to the Rangers fans, but Rangers fans, after losing a cup final, invaded Fitch. There's no reason for them to be there. And it just seems to be a common denominator, and it seems to be that it's always Rangers. They're the ones that are. There is instances with other clubs But it's like
I think you'll find there was
back to
Green
Rangers,
Brigade
Hibs will
attacking
go back to
the
Rangers.
team bus,
That's happening with
the Ross
Rangers.
County, etc.
But it's, I mean,
and the club and the vast majority of
So
fans
it's not
call the
just
Celtic.
always Rangers.
I think it's always Rangers. I said they always seem to be involved in
The
it.
Celtic fans were attacking the bus with fences.
I think we
And
all agree that every situation.
yesterday, Rangers fans were attacking the police
Exactly,
and the riot
but it's
squad
not
with
always
fences.
Rangers.
In
I
every situation that
have
we're
said that
talking about here
the
is
behaviour last
minority.
night was bang out of order, but it's not always Rangers, and that's what's been put across. Bang out of order.
No, but it's not just getting put across Rangers. James has said it has been the Green Brigade. I've said myself there's been other ones all season. Martin's saying that obviously the Hibs fans invaded the Hampden pitch. What we are saying here though is that it is a minority, given the whole club in general that are involved a bad name. The thing that I find though is that you're sitting here, Glasgow are pushing out tourism with things opening up again, as is most cities across the world. But their phrase to get people to come visit Glasgow is "people make Glasgow." As Shahan said, this will have an impact bigger than football. But I think that we're obviously going to sit here, we're all going to disagree with it because of the outrageous scenes that happened yesterday. James mentioned the infighting and that. What we're forgetting to talk about is that there was a massive day today in regards to the relegation situation.
Indeed, Martin's top team got put out of the league. They were due to be. I think they had to win 9-0 against Kilmarnock today to stay up, and unfortunately they lost 2-0. But while we're rounding up, I know Hamilton's quite a good topic to talk about as well. But I was also thinking about like how well Hibs have done this season as well. And just while we have a Hibs fan, there is few of them, but we have one with us. Martin, your team's done pretty well this season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's been stints where the performances haven't actually lived up to it. And I think what's benefited Hibs a lot this year is Aberdeen have been pished. I was sort of, but when you see Celtic have been pished this year and Hibs couldn't get anywhere near them. So I don't think it's been a great season for Hibs. I think there's been not a lot of competition in the position that we were going for. Got put to the League Cup, and obviously we're in the Scottish Cup final. But I would seem to be stringing performances together. A couple of the players within the squad are getting into the Scotland team. When we knocked back a couple of bids from down south during the January transfer window to keep players, which you're always wanting to do. Playing a decent style of football. I think Jack Ross is sort of got his feet under the table now, sort of knows what's happening. But to put in obviously Jack Ross wasn't considered for manager of the year, but for what he's done at the club, I mean, Hibs haven't finished third for, I'm pretty sure somebody else will tell me, but it's been a long time since I think it was 2004. Was it about 15
years?
Yeah, I think it was about 2004.
The last time,
something like that.
The last time you finished third, you had Scott Brown popping the champagne. It was a very, very exciting moment.
That was an anniversary of the times we've been in Europe. 150 years in Europe, 50 years in Europe. But the important things is wrapping up third place early enough. Good to put a second string team out against Celtic last game of the season, which did really matter much for either team. Really, it's where I was a bit upset with the coverage of it because it seemed to be the Scott Brown game as opposed to Marciano, who's been at Hibs for 5 years. That was his last game for Hibs. I'd be more concerned about the Hibs players than the Celtic players, but Hibs,
that'll be used without a decent goalie again, since you've always had trouble filling that slot, Martin.
Well, no, I actually quite like Macy. Macy we got from Arsenal.
On loan, doesn't it?
No, he's signed up for a couple of years now. It was on loan initially, but he'll be number one this next year, and he'll be in goals for the cup final. So I'm quite happy with the progress. Still to see, obviously, we've got a new owner in here and a bit ago. Still to see him put his hand in his pocket, but he's still saying all the right things.
Martin,
we'll see what comes out of it.
Martin, you can always take Barkas. He's an awesome goalkeeper. If you're stuck.
2 games,
I'd take him.
2 games, 2 clean sheets. You actually made a save. He made a save. It was wonderful. Actually,
Gav,
put his
just
hand
before
behind
we-
the ball. It's wonderful.
So,
James, if you don't mind, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Celtic because I feel as if we have beaten the Celtic train to death over the podcasts. We've talked about the incidents, we've talked about Dominic Mackay, but Gav, just briefly, obviously your team won the Scottish Championship and are coming up to the top flight. Again, I'm sure you would agree in terms of your thoughts, probably not the best of seasons at times, but still, won the league, got promotion, which was the kind of end destination, wasn't it? So
I think the same way. Any other season, there was a few poor results. Obviously, some poorer and more highlighted than others due to our situation. Liam Boyce won the Championship Player of the Year today. He got announced as it. So hopefully we can keep a hold of him and he can fire the goals in the Premiership. Also, Nielsen being pushed, requested to leave. He's still there. I think he will be the right man to lead us forward. Martin saying about Jack Ross not getting nominated for the Scottish Managerial Award, I think rightfully so, in my opinion, just to combat him, because it's kind of expected of Hibs. They're expected to be one of the better teams in Scottish football. And hopefully next season Hearts can battle up, and I think top 6 is a realistic aim for us. I mean, there'll be fans who say we need to get back into the top 3 or 4, but if we get top 6, I'll be happy as a Hearts fan, especially considering this season and we need the recruitment in the right areas now. But there's talks of Gordon being Scotland's #1 at the Euros now as well. He's kind of impressed Clark apparently well enough, so that could be an interesting dynamic from that point of view. But now I'm looking forward. I'm more looking forward to the playoff between Kilmarnock now it's been confirmed and Dundee. I think that'll be a really good game. I do think Dundee are a good team in terms of they have the potential to push Kilmarnock and get promoted alongside Hearts, and there'll be a Dundee derby back in the Premiership. I think that'll be a very good dynamic to it, and I do think they've got a good enough squad. There'll be a lot of good players and performances in games I've seen against Hearts, so I'm looking forward to that game. I think it's the 24th of May or something like that.
So we could have
Maybe
potentially 3
to
full
be
derbies
fair,
back up in Scotland then.
To be fair, I'd be quite happy to get rid of Kilmarnock as well. Another plastic pitch to get shot at.
Smell your muffins.
It's a weird club as well, with the smell your mouth fingers and the squirrel on the badge. And I'm quite happily get shot at them. I think, but the thing with a lot of the teams that have the playoffs, obviously the playoffs are set up to benefit the team in the top division. And usually the team, I think Kilmarnock were struggling to score a lot of goals. They got laughed again, so he has scored a few goals for them now, so they aren't as bad as what they have been at the start of the season. But I do still think there's maybe 2 or 3 teams in the Championship that are better than 3 or 4 teams at the bottom of the SPL.
I've said before, the Championship this season has been brilliant with teams like Dundee, Dunfermline. Wraith Rovers have been brilliant at times this season. Same with Inverness. I think Inverness could do well next season if they recruit well in the managerial position. But I do think Dundee will get promoted, especially knowing how poor Kilmarnock have been in terms of, as you said, scoring the goals they've struggled for.
Talking about Championship, is Falkirk going to make it to the Championship or not?
No.
They're not.
No. Even there were 8 points. 8 points clear, and they managed to miss out on the playoffs. Never mind automatic promotions. But speaking about the.
Unfortunately, it's another season of their bucket and spades in the Seaside League.
Yeah. Speaking about the SPL, I think can he go amiss without mentioning St Johnstone and how good a season they've had. I think that's obviously Callum Davison was another one who should have been in line to the Manager of the Year. I always find that it's weird.
He's been nominated for one of them.
It's weird that it's
the PFA,
all
I think.
decided before the last game. So if Callum Davison does do a double, which I'm hoping he doesn't,
You will.
and gets St Johnstone into, I think it's almost the group stages. I'll have to check up the European places because they've got I think they're in. I think they might be going into the UEFA Conference divisions that they've got now. But I think can he go without mentioning St Johnstone? That's most of the teams within the league.
St Johnstone did single-handedly ruin Rangers Cup run, didn't they? So
exactly, they did indeed. However, as I said, league wins, so I'm happy, and I'm sure Stevie G is as well. So I'm sure we can agree it's been an entertaining season at times. The Dundee Kilmarnock playoff game will surely be entertaining. But on that note, talking about entertainment.
See before we finish, James, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Stephen Gerrard said in an interview yesterday, that it will take an army to come and take the title away from him and Rangers. Will it happen next season? Yes or no?
Why would you set yourself up like that? Why would you make that comment?
Many factors.
Because it's true.
Because he's a super trooper.
Put in,
he thinks he can ace it.
There's many factors to come into play. First one, Eddie Howe.
For crying out loud. Just James, yes or no? James,
there's
yes
too many. I'm
no.
going to tell you, there's too many answers or too many questions.
Right.
Unknown.
The answer is
give an answer.
It's not going to happen next season.
Right. Will it happen next season, James? Yes or no?
Well, if Stephen Gerrard can put his neck out there, so am I. Yes, it will happen.
Take note. Take note.
And
so, Gav,
we won't even need to send a cavalry.
Oh!
Gav, thanks for ruining my segue for maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. It depends if the rain's falling that day or what the weather's doing.
James, Bruce, I'll help you. James, that comment, that's entertainment.
Entertainment. It's like the Battle of Waterloo. You just surrender straight away.
This is the call for the Battle of Waterloo. That's exactly what it is.
Talking about entertainment, back to my segue. I was doing a kind of James Bundy-esque very loose segue there. Couple of days ago, it was announced that Mayweather's going to be fighting YouTube megastar Logan Paul. It's going to be on Sky Sports box office on June the 6th at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. And when we were talking about this, when it was announced, Martin, you had a fair opinion on the matter, so I thought it was only fair that you could start us off.
I haven't had a wee bit of time to think about it. I can understand what benefits it brings to boxing. Having a YouTube star going into the boxing ring might get a new generation to get into boxing, because it is, I don't know if it's a dying sport, but it does seem to be sort of not getting it's not as big as it was when Tyson was about. Mike Tyson, not Tyson Fury, and it has sort of dipped a little bit. Should be on its way back up now, but I just think is it Logan Paul or Jake Paul or whoever the fuck this weird YouTuber is?
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
Aye.
Mayweather's supposed to be this is the second time Mayweather's done it as well, where he's gone out to create a fight that the opposition's got no chance of winning. I mean, McGregor fought Mayweather in a boxing match. I mean, I'm quite happy if Mayweather went in the octagon with McGregor, then he wouldn't have a shot. But he just seems to make these fights that are purely based on money, and it's not boxing. It's a sideshow. It's a frivolous thing that'll bring in money. It'll bring in more viewers. So it's good for the sport. But while all this has happened, you've got actual boxers out there. You've got Josh Taylor, who's doing extremely well. He's got a fight this pretty soon to be one of the first people to unify the super lightweight. Billy Joe Saunders, who just lost not long ago. Tyson Fury, Joshua, that'll be happening this year, I think. I mean, these are proper boxers who've done it in their lives. It's not a sideshow. This is it's a sport that they've committed their whole life to. No, some daft YouTuber trying to make a wee bit extra money. I mean, what's everybody's thoughts on it?
The thing that I would ask is the names that you just mentioned. Does your mother know any of them?
Yes.
I would really like Tyson Fury. Well, not Tyson Fury, Mike Tyson. Yes. Other than that, I would say boxing has had a bit of a PR struggle, and Logan Paul will bring in a new audience with the fight, but I do think it's the European Super League equivalent for boxing. It's all designed for money. It will turn people off the sport who actually like the sport, because if Floyd Mayweather turns up, he's going to knock him out pretty quickly.
I mean, so basically, you know how you said it's like all just a game show or whatever else. Obviously, I think what was supposed to happen was this fight was supposed to be with Jake Paul, right, originally. And they had this kind of head-to-head, you know, when they go and whatever, take pictures of each other and, you know, taunt each other, whatever. And this shows how immature all this was. Jake Paul basically stole Mayweather's cap and said, "I stole your cap," and then ran off. So Mayweather obviously went after him. The champion of boxing went after him and tried punching the shit out of him, basically. And then
obviously, are you trying to tell me that's not staged? To get more people watching the next fight.
It was exactly same with McGregor.
And then that led to Logan Paul getting involved and start fighting with Mayweather security, right? And then now they both are fighting. So it's all led to this situation. I think it was always supposed to be Logan that was supposed to be fighting, and they've just done this massive dramatic thing. And now they've just read, voulez-vous a fight, and let's go for it.
It's really, really weird. Literally. It's all just like gimme. They want more money. It's a complete rip-off of the sport. When people, you feel for the actual fans of the sport, the ones that are there to watch the technique for the fighting, or the ones that have fought. I mean, it's bad enough when Joshua was fighting that Mexican fat boy, and there was other boy who was fighting the other Mexican guy. What was his name? Chiquita or whatever his name is. But I think it has to stop because it's within all.
I think you're talking about the Man U player there.
That's
Chicharito. Chicharito, small P.
This is just highlighted to me. There's a reason we don't let Martin do an awful lot of talking.
He just rambles.
At least we don't let him do any.
All of this has been for money. It's literally like, voulez-vous a fight? Let's do this.
All I'm going to say is that thankfully we don't let him do the dancing on a night out, because he'd be known as the dancing queen.
I've been known as that a few times.
This is all about money.
I think
we're saying it's all about money.
I would like to propose that as I would like to propose Martin dancing as the closing credits going forward. But to draw kind of back onto the exactly. But in the world we live in, money talks, and it talks quite substantially. But
it shouldn't. In this case and scenario, when it comes to this, in terms of, as Martin said, a sport that people have dedicated their lives to, it shouldn't. You could have justified the Mayweather-McGregor fight in terms of McGregor as a fighter.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But what I was waiting for after that, being someone who enjoys watching the odd boxing here and there, and the odd UFC match, I enjoyed seeing them go each other's world. They had the boxing match. I was waiting for the UFC. I was waiting for the MMA in the cage. It didn't happen. I'm still waiting for that. I'd rather see that than see this match. Right? But you just know for a fact Mayweather's going to knock him out, and Paul's going to be sitting there doing angels in the rainfall of money, watching the ring girls go past, sitting going, lay all your love on me, give me it all, sitting taking everything he can get. He's not going to do anything. So, the thing is, like, knowing me, knowing yous, we've had nights out where we have watched boxing the odd time in the pub. Will any of us pay Sky Box Office to watch this fight? No. None of us are going to pay 20,
possibly
to go and watch this fight.
Watch on Snapchat the next day, because it's all on there after nowadays with all these YouTubers and stuff being involved.
I think it is get to that with pay-per-view events. I mean, everybody's wanting your 20 quid for an event as opposed to a couple of quid, but it's amazing the amount of sports that have now turned to this. I actually watch 8-ball pool, but it used to be on Free Sports, and now it's pay-per-view, and it's crazy. I'm not going to pay for that.
No,
I'm not going to pay for the boxing either.
I think
People say watch, bro.
Yeah, Jimmy White was in it.
Just to get everybody's views on this fight and kind of draw the money making extravaganza section to a close. On one hand, we have the over kind of monetization of the whole thing, versus, as Martin actually put a quite good point forward about the inspiring the future. Like, these people that watch Logan, there are young people out there who aspire to be like Logan Paul, and I can tell you that because like that is what that is a fact. So there is the inspiring future generations to maybe take up the sport because he's done it once, and the over monetization of the whole thing. Do you think events like this are a good idea, James?
No. The question that I would ask everyone very quickly is, how much would you be willing to be how much would you want to get paid to get knocked out by Floyd Mayweather in front of?
I think the question is, how much is he offering to knock me out?
Yeah, how much would it take
you
to get paid?
A blank check.
A blank check.
Blank check. He can offer me anything as long as it's over my, say, 5 years worth of my annual income. If it's anything near 100, 200,000, it's life-changing money. You're going to take it. Even 10,000 for some people. 10,000 in a winner, there you go, in your back pocket. There's people out there who'll do anything for money. We know that because prostitutes, and that's just. So there's people out there who will do anything. Shahan, fuck off. You laugh. You smile. It's just your smile, mate. You're just sitting there bubbling.
Shahan's just a way to Google some numbers, that's all.
People will do anything for money. So at the end of the day, is for someone who, I'm just asking us, normal people, if you want to categorise us as normal.
Floyd Mayweather's actually never won by a knockout, has he, though? Has he not just goes the distance every time? Does he not?
I'm sure he's got.
No, he's done a few knockouts.
Oh, no.
On the back of that, do you think these events are good for the sport in any way?
No, not at all. I do think it comes down to what Martin said about those people who have dedicated their lives to it. You've got people out there like Commonwealth athlete who's went out and they've trained hard. They've got to the Commonwealth stage. They're then going up into the actual boxing fights. Something that's not for them. That's been proved with Anthony Ogogo. I'm guessing everyone knows who Anthony Ogogo is. Do you know what he's doing with himself now? He is a professional wrestler in America. So again, it didn't work out for him in boxing. He wasn't getting the matches, so he went into a different sport. Still, in terms of
is that pretend sport?
Combat. No, it's not. It's real. However, it's scripted. Different.
I thought you were going to say you went into YouTube and show that you could go either way.
No. It's not.
So,
it's not good at all because you've got people out there who are being overshadowed.
Brilliant. Martin, name your price, and do you think events like this are good for the sport?
Not very much, and in a way, it depends what type of fans you want to come at the sport. I mean, you've had boxing fans who have done boxing their whole life that know all the intricacies yet, and they're that hardcore fans that will go and do everything. And you're basically alienating them to then get a group of teenagers in that have never seen boxing before, and they're just sort of going to watch and listen to what commentators say. As James said it before, it's the same. They tried the same with football in the Super League, and it's not the sport. I mean, even with football, they're changing rules to a point where a little tackle turns into, that's my earphone falling. I used
as
to
professional
like,
as ever here on the Sports Hut podcast.
I used to like a good tackle, and you just can't get it anymore. They've changed the rules of the sport to take it out, and it's happened with all the sports where they're trying to get new fans in or do something with sport. And no, I don't like them doing it. And no, it's not helping.
And did you name how much you would take for Mayweather to knock you good looking? Because if not, I'm pretty sure we could all chip in to help you.
He said not very much.
Not very much.
Not very much.
That would be
a couple of weeks' wages. I'd be back up and back to work
because we're
anyway. So
we're not happy to chip in if he's going to make you good looking, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I think he'd load me in Mayweather for that.
Shahan, the same questions for you, mate. Name your price and what do you think about the benefit for the sport for these events?
I don't think as good as Gav said for the actual boxers who've actually trained all their life and been in the ring all their life, but they don't get exposure, and YouTubers come into the sport and they already have this exposure, so they're getting these big fights and it's all based on money, but it's all scripted at the same time, so like they're actually taking the fun away from the game essentially. What would $1 million? There we go. I'll take $1 million. So I'm $1 million.
James,
I'll be knocked out. So
James, you asked the money.
You wouldn't take less.
I mean, I'll take less. I'll take a tenner and so probably do it.
I'll give you 30 quid to hit you.
I'll take a tenner just to see if he can knock me out, because I am bigger than him. I think I'm definitely taller than him. I'm definitely bigger than him.
Excuse me, Mayweather knocked out Big Show, eh? So
I reckon it'll take him more than a punch to knock me out.
And James, just before we finish up, what was your price?
He'd probably look at me outside the ring and I'd faint. So
and the reflection would catch off his sweaty forehead or five head, if you want to call it that. And oh fuck!
I've decided I'm taking at least 5 figures, but I'm taking about 5 figures because I'm not up for getting.
What's wrong with the figure you got?
If I'm honest.
It's only one figure.
Well, it's only one figure that's about the same as 5.
Probably shaved the hair. You look like Butterbean. None of you know who Butterbean is.
I know who Butterbean is.
So
I have no idea. But
once we're all finished hurting my feelings. Yesterday, Gav,
you're a Rangers fan.
Your team.
So they do half a hand.
Gav and Shahan, yesterday your team you lost 1-0 against Leicester in the FA Cup final. Gav, talk about it.
Fucking Butterbean.
I think you've killed Gavin there, Martin.
Yeah, so FA Cup final yesterday. I think it was a good game. It was a final. If we're talking about finals that teams have lost, we've not really mentioned Spurs losing their final much on here. So at the end of the day, we're having as a successful season. We're having it as a successful season as Spurs having sacked the manager and lost a cup final at the moment. However, we've actually made a European final. I did think it was a good game. I'm sure Shahan would agree. We had a wee conversation about it before. A lot of dubious things. First half wasn't great. Neither team could take advantage of any other's mistake. But I think at the end of the day, Leicester, brilliant goal to win. Again, it's dubious circumstances with the equaliser. But for me, the two things that were highlighted was the team's celebrations at the end, inviting the chairman down after the helicopter incident that happened 3 years ago. The chairman being the son of the original chairman who passed away in that tragic accident, pointing to the sky, lifting the trophy in honour of his father, tears streaming down his face, the players all with him. That epitomises football, especially after this whole Super League shit that's been going on. That is what you want from a football club. For the Leicester fans, it must have been brilliant. For a fan of Chelsea who were playing against them, wanted them to lose, watching that was brilliant and emotional as a football fan. The second thing is, I think Brendan Rodgers has secured his place as being one of the best football managers in the world just now.
Definitely.
In terms of his accomplishments at Swansea, Liverpool, Celtic, and now Leicester. You know what I mean? It has to be announced that And James, I'm sorry for bringing up bad memories because he left us. But then on the flip side of that, you've also got
got Neil Lennon, though.
I think overall it was a really good game. It was a really good game, but there was two interesting facts that I found. I can't remember the first one now. Shit.
Jamie Vardy and Brendan Rodgers.
I remember the Jamie Vardy one. Yeah.
Brendan and Sir Alex.
Brendan Rodgers is the only. He's now the second manager, joining Sir Alex Ferguson, to have won both the Scottish Cup and the FA Cup in their managerial career, which I think is a brilliant achievement.
I did see that, yeah.
Joining very esteemed company there. And the other fact was that Jamie Vardy, after playing in yesterday's cup final, has now played in all 15 rounds, including the preliminary rounds of the FA Cup competition, which I think shows you, no matter who you are. Bruce was talking about in the boxing topic about people following them, young people aspiring something. That there, for a football fan, that's a target, that's a goal. If he can make it, I can fucking make it, I know. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That needs to be your thought. A brilliant game. I just kind of want to get everyone else's thoughts on it though. I know neutral fans more than anything, because chatting, me and you kind of will have stronger words to say about other things than them. But
I mean, just briefly. Sorry, just briefly before we got on to the actual game itself, when you were mentioning there about Brendan Rodgers and Alex Ferguson, all I'm going to say is I can't wait till the day that Stevie G eventually gets his name on an accolade like that, you know.
You actually win the Scottish Cup to get an accolade like that.
Well, no, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Bruce, see, at the moment, there's currently more chance of Bruce, there's currently more chance of Jack Ross and Callum Davidson being in that than Stevie G at the moment.
You won't have him next year.
You set yourself up there, Bruce.
Bruce, there's currently more chance. One of these days, boys. One of these days, Stubbs being in that company than Stevie G at the moment.
I think as looking at the cup final, I was all ready to go and support Leicester, and then they were maroon.
That's another point. Actually, before you say that, Ian Wright was one of the pundits. He came out at the start of the match before he even started and said, "I'm not going to be supporting Chelsea today because Chelsea showed up." As a Chelsea fan, I was disgusted with this. Chelsea showed up to the match in tracksuits for a cup final, an FA Cup final, prestigious competition, suits. Leicester showed up in suits. That's kind of the unwritten rule. So
surely remember the 90s when Liverpool showed up in the matching white suits, and there's always suits for an FA Cup final. It has to be a suit.
Yeah. Ian Wright said it was disrespectful.
It's a stricter dress code in the Scottish Parliament an FA Cup final.
I think they were just trying to be too confident. I guess Chelsea were showing they're too relaxed for this, turn up in tracksuits, I guess. But no, I think it was a brilliant game. Obviously, as Gavin mentioned, some dubious circumstances that we shall discuss. But no, I think there's been an offside. That offside was not really offside.
How was it not dubious, Martin?
That offside.
The VAR there, it was offside.
The 2 points I'm making
was offside.
For those who have not seen the game, the two circumstances, the Leicester goal, there was an alleged handball. It came off this area of Tielemans' arm. So in the laws of the game, that would technically be a handball. Obviously, both instances were reviewed by VAR. That goal was given. It was a brilliant goal. The second one was that Ben Chilwell was offside, and as Shannon said, it was literally his hand or part of his hand was offside. The rule of offside is, I believe, any part of your body that can score is over beyond the defender. That's where
but your hand is.
You can't score with your hand,
exactly.
Which is a lot of people with it. But James, from your point of view, as
different times. There was no VAR then.
Shannon, shut up. James, in your opinion, as a neutral in this situation, did you manage to watch the game, and what were your thoughts on the game as a whole and the celebrations at the end, which was, I took away the biggest thing from it?
I was a neutral in this game. I obviously cannot support Chelsea as a Tottenham fan, and as a Celtic fan, I struggled to support Brendan Rodgers. What only this season could have been if he was still our manager. But rather than reflecting on that, I will reflect on the game. I thought it was actually pretty boring, the game. It was good to see fans back in the stadium. That was a very positive as well. And seeing fans cheer and celebrate a goal. And it was a good goal for them to celebrate. Obviously, Abide With Me and God Save the Queen before the game also was something that appealed to me and not the rest of you. But it was
to me.
Oh, thank you, Shahan. But no, it was that was good to see fans back in stadium. Was a big positive, as well as the end of the match celebrations. You made your point very eloquently at the start of this section, Gavin, about the European Super League and how fans have become disengaged with their club. Man United are the perfect example of that just now. And I'm going to criticise Tottenham because they deserve to be criticised. The final game of the season against Aston Villa, it is meaningless. And they are charging £60 for fans to attend the game. It is a meaningless game. They're charging £60, and knowing that they messed up, they are offering fans a free burger for attending.
Should be a free ticket.
No, they get £60 for.
How much is the burger?
I don't know. It's a new stadium. I've never been.
11 quid. I'd like to just mention a Scottish team within this, because Motherwell have came out and said they're not going to charge for the season tickets for next season for the fans who bought them last season and weren't able to use them. And that just shows you, obviously, not the amount of money involved, but I think the money that Motherwell could have done with, but decided to help the fans instead. So that just shows you the difference between some of these clubs.
Yeah, definitely. I think if everyone kind of went along the same routes as that, and I'm sure it was Burnley. Was it Burnley that said they weren't charging for tickets? Was it Burnley or Aston Villa? For the games this weekend. But like, I think as a football fan, total generic football fan, if you had an owner like Top, as he's called, the owner of Leicester, you would love life. He's got such a close connection to the players, to the staff, to the fans, especially after the helicopter tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's no more than what they deserve. To have won the league a few years ago, to brought in a manager like Brendan Rodgers who made them bigger and better, turned down a team like Tottenham because they're a better team, and to go and win the FA Cup for the first time in their history, to call the chairman down, not just to be like, right, well done, to call him down, and he hugged every single one of the players. Something that, Wes Morgan went to give a wee high five and we fist bump to Prince William, and Prince William went, sorry, I can't, COVID. He's like, oh yeah, right, elbow bump. Yeah, I think that was a brilliant showing from Top. And as I said before already, I'm repeating myself here, but it's just nice to see that wall broken down between the fans and the owners. Do you think we need more transparency like that in football as fans?
No, I think it's definitely been like a long time coming for Leicester anyways, because I think they reached 4 FA Cup finals before this one, and unfortunately lost all of them. And it's been a long time coming, like 5 years ago, whatever, when they won the league. I think that was a kind of turnaround to becoming one of the top 5 clubs in English football. I don't think there is a top 6 as such anymore. I think it is just a top 5, and Leicester is definitely part of it now, with them stealing this FA Cup. But yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a transparency between clubs, and there shouldn't really be a gap between the owners and the players. It should just be all one big unit, which obviously was seen by Leicester as they celebrated with the owner.
I'm waiting for James to disagree here.
I'm not going to disagree because it's a utopian thought, and I think it's everyone would want to agree with it, but it's not going to happen.
No.
The owners are in football for money. There is a money-making business for these clubs, for these people, and yeah, like the Glazer family, Kroenkes in Arsenal, even Daniel Levy in Tottenham. as long as the club's making profit and they can make money out of the club, they're not going to really care about the success on the pitch. They're not going to be emotionally invested in it. And they'll only invest when the club will start losing its stature by losing games on the pitch. And it's that cycle of repetition. Leicester have been very fortunate to get the family into the club and having very good owners and planning long-term, taking data analytics. And whilst they've not won the league this season, I actually think this season's team would beat the 2016 league winners. Yeah. They are improving all the time, recruiting very well and spending money very wisely. It's an exciting time to be a Leicester fan. And being objective about it, it was the best club Rodgers probably could have picked realistically, whilst leaving the mighty Glasgow Celtic.
I think looking at you say about having an owner with the face and everything. I mean, I never really see much of the Man City owner, but he, and it pains me to say it, they invest quite a lot in the community. Same with the Leicester owner, it's not just the club, it's a community that goes around it and everywhere around the stadium. I know that they kind of do that for their own benefit, because if the area around the stadium becomes more expensive, then their land becomes more expensive. But the community gets helped a great deal, because they'll go and spend money not just in the club but around the community, help the area, have community centres, do all that stuff, and you're just going to get that with all the clubs. But there is more than just Leicester that do it.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
On you go.
Another thing I wanted to say with Leicester, when they won the league, they managed to lose two of their three best players, I felt, in that year. Kante and Mahrez.
And Danny Drinkwater. And Danny Drinkwater.
And Danny Drink water. But you look at Kante and Mahrez now, they're both going to be in the Champions League final, playing against each other. So they've done all right for themselves, and I think Leicester have actually been able to, like James says, recruit extremely well. The two centre halves they've got, everything else that they've got. I mean, they've got already Maguire, who's going to be extremely difficult to replace. They replaced him quite well, I thought. Got better players in.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very good point. The recruitment is a very good point. I just made on you go, Shahan.
No, I was going to say I agree with the point that other teams do it as well, because obviously Man City owner bought the team for his passion for the game. He's rich enough; he didn't need to buy, or he didn't buy the team to make money off it as such, because he is a prince of a country. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the documentary All or Nothing, when the Man City team and they go across to Saudi and meet him, and he's literally going on and meeting like all the players and like having like nice chats with them and everything. So you do see that with other teams as well. Just more adding to that point, really.
Yeah, I think to round it up, I've got a two-parter question here. Pardon me. I think the first one I'm going to ask is, obviously Leicester have said good season for them, especially in Europe as well. Do we see them pushing next season again further up the table in Europe in domestic competitions? And for Chelsea, what does this result mean for them? Of course, there's a lot of kind of similarities that tied in between now and 2012 when they won the Champions League. About managerial sacking halfway through the season, a poor form multi-million pound striker. Whereas now, after losing this, there's the similarities between 2008, where managerial sacking, losing 2-1 against, in 2008 it was Man United, and 2021 it was Man City, losing a domestic cup final and then having a UEFA Champions League final against Manchester club. 2008, we all know how that turned out. John Terry doing a Stevie G and slipping. Do we think that Chelsea have a chance in the Champions League final to go on and win? So that's my two questions there. We'll go to Bruce first. He's not said much in this one.
Do you know, I don't see why Leicester can't push on next season, as was highlighted during the conversation. They're constantly improving, aren't they? I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. If they set their hearts on it and they pull out all the stops and put all the work in necessary, then I suppose anything's possible. Do you know what I mean? And then to the second question, well, we highlighted in an earlier podcast about the Tuchel touch. And and I feel that with a decent steady helm at the moment, Chelsea seem to be on the right path. Things will hopefully turn around for them too.
James, going to you next, as you're sitting there yawning as you always do.
I was laughing because Bruce was saying about Leicester putting all their heart into it.
And then you yawned because he kept talking.
No, it was just about Brendan Rodgers and having character and how that was said every press conference. Showed character today. So I think they'll have plenty of love and character next season, but I don't think that means that they'll necessarily progress in terms of league position. I think teams will improve next season. The schedule won't be as hectic, so you're going to have Liverpool back in the fray. I think Man U can potentially be in the mix again. I think Chelsea will definitely be on a better run at the start of the season than this season. So I think Leicester might improve as a team, but I don't think that will necessarily be reflected in league position. Though West Ham will not be there, I can say that with pretty high assurance. Comparison to 2012, 2008, it's a lot of rubbish. Don't look at it. It's going to be determined on the day. And I actually think it will be the manager that thinks the least that will win the game. Tuchel and Guardiola have the tendency to overthink. Hello, Cooper. We have the tendency to overthink these big games. You have to win in a unique way before Cooper.
We have a Cooper in our
It's nice for Martin to have somebody who's a bit more on his wavelength.
Cooper, what's your feelings on the subject?
Will Chelsea win the Champions League?
Say yes.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
You heard it here first, people.
The World Cup had Paul the Octopus. What's that podcast is about Cooper.
Yeah.
Cooper for Chelsea.
Martin, what's your thoughts on it? Oh, sorry, James, just for talking. Sorry.
Oh, so yes, what I was saying is that the past couple of games, Tuchel has been overthinking, I think, overcomplicating the game. Guardiola has had the tendency to do that in the past as well. So I think the manager that thinks the least will win the game, as ironic as that sounds.
Martin?
What's the question again?
He's too distracted by Cooper now.
So first of all, with Leicester, when Leiccer won the league, won the league because everybody else done terrible. I was going to say another word, but Cooper's here. Everybody else done extremely badly that year, and that's why Leicester won the league. They did do well, but I think as far as improvement goes, I think they are on an upward trend. I don't think they'll be competing for the title. Liverpool come back stronger. Man City will be as strong as they were. James said Man United will be up there. Chelsea, once the Tuchel touch has a pre-season in them. I can't see Arsenal doing anything. Obviously, Tottenham haven't got a manager in yet to do something. So I could say Leicester will be in the top 5. I can't see anybody else competing. Will Chelsea win? I don't think so. I think looking at Tuchel, he's came in halfway through the season. He's done well. But Man City in a cup final like that, I can't see Chelsea competing.
We talk about the Tuchel touch. What about the Potter press, putting Tottenham into the top 4?
Shut up, Shahan.
Not happening.
I think Leicester are. They will do well. I don't know if they will be in the top 4 again next season, but I think they will do well. If Rodgers stays there, you can see like after obviously in the celebration and stuff, you could see that the players actually enjoy playing for him. And if the players stay there, then I think they will do well, and they might even reach the same position again into third back. Do they win? Will they win the league? Probably not. I don't think so. And as James mentioned, everybody's going to be doing much better, more less hectic schedule as well. So all those factors are going to come into play as well. And to be totally biased here, I think Chelsea will definitely win the Champions League. There's no two ways about it. They're the best team in the world, and they will win the.
And the reason for that?
Well, they're the best team in the world, aren't they? And they have the big Thomas Tuchel, and Kante will be in top form again, just as he was against Real Madrid.
If Brendan decides to leave Leicester, they could appoint Leicester's former midfielder Neil Lennon as manager. Keep the trend going.
I thank you very much for your input on that question. I am now going to ask Cooper to say bye-bye to you. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Cooper.
Bye-bye.
Say like, follow, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I will be with you momentarily.
Fantastic.
Grand. So while Gav goes off to do the fatherly duties, it's quite relevant that at around about 9 o'clock this evening. Bye. Around about 9 o'clock this evening, we checked the old Twitter, Twitter, and looked at what was trending. Martin, of course, is a big fan of Call the Midwife. In fact, we know that he's recording tonight's episode to go off and watch it after the podcast. Hopefully, to get some tips, Martin. Do you know?
The amount of kids I've got are not enough midwives. Don't watch that pass.
Martin Fivey, single-handedly keeping the schools in the Falkirk district in business. So,
the episode's actually called
with that in mind, called Midwife. Called the Midwife was a trending subject on Twitter, and last time I was on, Gav spoke about Line of Duty and did a roundtable around about that. So with that in mind, what sports star would you love to walk into the maternity suite and deliver your child? James Bundy.
My natural inclination is a goalkeeper, because solid hands.
Not Kepa.
Not Kepa, not Barkas, not Scott Bain, not Connor Hazard. Just
however,
called the Celtic goalkeeper. I would not.
However,
Alan
if you're
McGregor.
going to go down that line, I was say if you're going to jump on that line, I would jump in first of mine and say Alan McGregor, because he has the safest hands in the country. And when your other half is lying there and they all together, and the baby comes
Shagger in there. That's who you want.
Out, and the baby comes out of the exit door and shoots up into the air. You know that McGregor is going to be there and be reliable to catch that baby safely.
You've been present during her birth. You know that's not what happens. And if it is, that's not right. And the last person you want there is somebody whose nickname is Shagger.
Yeah, I'm a fair point. Right, James, sorry, I jumped in. It's your turn.
Yeah, who would I want? Goalkeeper, I'm going to go with
Podcast.
I've already ruled him out. I've ruled out all the Celtic goalkeepers. Buffon.
Gavin.
Yes.
Big sleazy Italian, look at your wife's spits.
Okay.
Got a good beard.
Gavin, which sports star would you love to see walk through the door of the maternity suite to deliver your child?
Yes, that's a hard one, eh? Because you wouldn't want, as James said, you wouldn't want someone like Cass Butterfingers stop the baby. You wouldn't want someone like Ollie McBurney kick the baby. That's a hard one.
He'll miss the baby. You try and dive and header and miss.
Have you not seen the video this week, James?
I have.
Yeah, he beat up a couple of kids.
Yes. They were just as shocked that he was on target as Ollie McBurney was.
Try to
That's the reason they
kick
picked the
goal and
side,
miss.
because they thought he missed.
I think you've got to. James is looking at it in the goalkeeper point of view. Is it just James's answers?
Yeah.
So James.
No,
looks
so
at the
I
goalkeeper
have
point of
also
view.
said, yeah, I have also said Alan McGregor, because when your other half is lying on the bed and
He
the
will pump
baby
her.
shoots out of the exit door, and is blasted up into the air, you want a safe pair of hands that can then cushion that falling baby safely and sensibly. The safest hands in the country.
I think
Alan
you're
McGregor.
looking at.
He's called Shagger for a reason.
That was my
Exactly.
comments. Yep.
I think you're looking from the person from The Lion King in that scenario, not Alan McGregor.
He dives to the
Rafiki, that's his
left.
name.
He dives to the right.
I've only used for singing that song yesterday, not your anti-Catholic.
Right,
song.
anyways,
But moving
Gavin.
on.
Right, so I'm going away from the goalkeeper side of things. I'm thinking you need someone who's tactical in case something goes wrong and has a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, because these things aren't always smooth sailing.
Neil
Some things
Lennon.
can't go wrong. I said tactical, Bruce, tactical, right? So for these reasons, I'm not picking Neil Lennon or Craig Levine, but I think you have to go with someone in managerial side of things. But I'm not going with football. I'm going with basketball. I'm going with the man who led the Lakers to multiple NBA trophies, and Phil Parkinson, I believe his name was. You won't have any clue who he is because you aren't basketball fans.
What about the one that Bulls, Chicago Bulls, won like 7 titles with
Was
alongside
that not Phil
Michael
Parkinson
Jordan?
as well? Was that not Phil
Is
Parkinson?
that the same
as well?
guy?
I think so. Give me a second, I'll double check.
Okay,
I don't
on
know.
that note,
Next time
while
people are
Gav's
doing the
doing
research
some,
before they pick somebody. Right.
while somebody's doing the research, Martin Fivey.
Right, I'm going to go with somebody who I feel is like an obvious one. Gretna, when they were in the top league, they had a striker that worked through the tables, and his name is Kenny Duker, I want to say.
Kenny Duker.
And he was a
Kenny
doctor.
Duker.
I know.
I'm going to go with the doctor.
Three of us know Kenny Duker.
I will let Kenny know. I will let Kenny know that you would like him at the birth of your next child.
I am not having a next
I'll
child.
get on to the board very shortly.
Yes, Gavin, Bruce, and I know Kenny Duker.
I've done my research. It is Phil Jackson. I was close. Phil Jackson. He has won 11 NBA.
You just got his last name wrong.
Exactly, I was close.
Could have been Phil Taylor.
He's sitting there with a pint going, you're doing good, hen.
Phil Mickelson.
Left-hander.
And to suitably round this off before we end up talking drivel like we normally do, Shahan.
I'm going to say Rebecca Adlington. You know, the British Olympic swimmer champion.
Why?
In case it's
Why? What's your reasoning?
Is it really that wet there?
In case it's a water bird.
In case it's a water bird.
Or in case I choose it to be a water bird. Do you have to choose it?
You have to choose it. It's not up to you.
You choose.
Well, that then.
Oh dear.
So I'm choosing her.
Right. So just before we finish, I think we've found our
So we've
clip
got a
for a bit.
shagger.
Shahan choosing Rebecca Adlington in case it's a water bird.
Why not Ellie Simmons?
Who?
Because he wants her number, hey?
Well, why Rebecca Adlington then?
It's the only swimmer he knows.
Because Jessica Ennis Hill doesn't swim, does she? So I can't choose her. Neither does Katrina Johnson Johnson. Dawson Johnson or whatever her name is.
Johnson Thompson.
Yeah, that one.
So before this escalates and runs away from us, all we've got to say is thank you for watching episode number 17 of the. What I missed that. What was that?
Swims away. Keep going, Bruce. You're doing great.
Thank you for watching episode number 17 of the Sports Hard podcast. As usual, as James would say, like, share, and subscribe to all of the socials. And let us know below in the comments if you have any thoughts on the Scottish football roundup, the Rangers antics from last night, the fight between Mayweather and Logan Paul, the FA Cup, and of course, which sports star would you have delivering your child?
And make sure to listen to us on our new broadcasting platforms. That's what I was looking for.
Yes, we are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
And we are the Sports Hard Podcast.